Coming up on SportsNight. Northwestern faces UMass in some good old-fashioned football.
The women's basketball team continues to ball out.
And the volleyball team takes on some Big Ten opponents in Welsh Ryan.
Well, Pat, we got all of that coming up for you, as well as some things that we are thankful for, coming up on Sports Night right now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Pat, Thanksgiving is a week away from today. What are you doing for that?
Well, Thanksgiving is the one time that all of my brothers can come home. I've got 4 older ones, so it's a pretty ruckusy house, but my mom makes enough food, thankfully.
Wow, that's pretty nice. 4 brothers, that's a lot.
What about you? What are you doing?
Yeah, my family's coming into town. I'm staying in good old Evanston. I'm going to cook some amazing turkey, watch some good old-fashioned football. And I was going to make a comment about how cold it was and kind of relate it to how cold the football team has been, because they have been cold. But could they heat up? Let's find out. After what has been a tough season so far for the Wildcats, they took on the Minutemen of UMass, a team that came into the weekend with a record of 1-9. Let's roll some highlights. We start off strong here as the UMass Minutemen are driving, but Alex Miller comes up strong with a nice sack. Don't you worry, ladies and gentlemen. And then we got the next drive. Joe Gaziano with a blocked kick. You never see that very often. And then Chris Bergen, could he go all the way? Oh, yes he can. 85 yards on this long run. The Cats go up here on that score. Next up, we got Evan Hull now with his first touchdown run up the middle. And then next we have another Evan Hull touchdown. Indeed, this one is a bit longer, but up the middle again for another tutty. Coming up next, we got some more defense. Blake Gallagher here with the interception. Defense is really stepping up, and he's got a nice return. Breaks some tackles, eludes some defenders, has some really nice blocking as he gets it past midfield and up the field for some more. And then next, we have another Evan Hull touchdown. Can he go down the sideline? Toe taps? Oh my gosh, yes he can indeed. Those are 6 more points, ladies and gentlemen. And who else comes up next? Big, but another Evan Hull touchdown. That's right. But don't worry. He did share the love eventually. Raymond Nero with an 11-yard touchdown run to end the game. Cats win big in this one.
I'm here at Ryan Field postgame as the Northwestern Wildcats just defeat the University of Massachusetts Minutemen 45-6. The Minutemen came out hot in this one and had an opportunity to jump up to a 6-0 lead, but their field goal was blocked by Joe Gaziano, and it was returned for 85 yards by Chris Bergen, completely shifting the momentum to the Wildcats' side, and they would carry on to win the game 45-6. But the story of today's game was first-year Evan Hull, who came out in his first start and had 4 touchdowns, rushing for 220 yards. For NNN Sports, I'm Andy Payton.
Now joining me in the side studio is a huge football guy, writer for Inside NU, and an IM5 football stud, correct me if I'm mistaken, Avery Zimmerman. Avery, how are you doing today?
I'm excited. I might be a little bit generous, but I'm excited to make my debut here.
I've seen you play. Now, we're going to do something new here. Coach Fitz has been pretty adamant during these press conferences lately, so we're going to take some notable quotes that he's giving us. I'm going to guess who he's talking about. You're going to tell me if I'm wrong or right, and what impact that has had on the season. Should we get into it?
Let's do it.
First one up, it starts with preparation. It's pretty obvious that some of our guys did not do the things they needed to prepare for this season. Now, I'm not no expert on the football team, but when I look at this one, I have to assume he's talking about the quarterback group. They have not been playing well this year.
Yeah, no, you'd be right about that one, Pat. The quarterback group has just not really been there this year. And really, in this one, he's really just talking about Aiden Smith, Andrew Marty, and Hunter Johnson. TJ Green, who he was asked about was TJ coming into the season prepared? He said yes. So we can only assume that he's talking about those 3 guys. And as you can see, it really hasn't been pretty. According to Fitzgerald, that comes down to the preparation that happened in the offseason, not really week by week, but what the people were doing and what the group was doing in the summer, and he doesn't think that was good enough.
I mean, just look at these plays, you can tell that. Let's move on to the next one. We were down 3 scores, and there weren't a lot of guys on our sideline that had faith we can go and get a touchdown. If I had to choose a game week this was this against Ohio State?
It was actually not. You could have guessed a couple of games this one. The Cats have been more than a couple scores down in a couple of contests this year, but this one was actually the Indiana game. A game in which they came in as underdogs, but only 8-point, 10-point underdogs, and they went a couple scores down, a turnover or 2, and some unfortunate plays. And what Pat Fitzgerald observed on the sidelines was not a pretty scene. He didn't think his team was motivated. They had no energy. They had no will to compete. And he didn't believe that they were ready to come out and make a comeback. And to him, that's the most disheartening thing, because for a Pat Fitzgerald coach team, you rarely see that lack of energy, that lack of motivation. And in this one, it was evident against an Indiana team that is good, but not an unbelievable Indiana team, not Ohio State, not Iowa, that it was evident that they just were not going to make a comeback. And it was on the team's energy, the team's motivation, and the team's will to win.
Disheartening, if you will. We move on to our third one. This is a long one, but I feel like I remember it. When things aren't going great, and it's a technology world that we live in, there are 3 magic buttons that fixes things. Control, Alt, Delete. Takes all 3 things at once to work, and it might be the best t-shirt I've come up with. This was Iowa game week, wasn't it?
This was after a 52-3 thrashing at the hands of Ohio State, and unfortunately for Northwestern, they don't have those 3 buttons. You know, Pat Fitzgerald has had a lot of memorable quotes this year. This has to be right up there with, blaming the phones, blaming millennials, and then we have Control, Alt, Delete. And unfortunately for Northwestern, they didn't have that opportunity, and as evidenced in the past couple of weeks, they weren't really able to hit that reset button nonetheless, and they were only able to pick up their last win against UMass, their second win of the year, only their other one being another poor team in UNLV. So unfortunately, if they could hit that button, it would be a lot easier for Northwestern.
Our final one, I'm happy for him. He's a great young man with a really bright future. We're obviously depleted in that position. He played really well in the practice this week and earned a starting role, and he went out there and played really well. This is nice. We have a bright quote for once.
It's good to see.
This has to be from the UMass game. We just saw the tape. Is it Evan Hull?
It is Evan Hull, and it's really nice to end on a positive note because there hasn't been much positive to talk about this year. But as you can see in these highlights, he really had a breakout game. A walk-on freshman that hasn't had many opportunities this year. However, injuries to our starting running backup running back Isaiah Bowser, John Brown, Moten, all opportunities that pointed to Evan Hull, and he really took the most of that against UMass. It's not the most vaunted defense in the country, arguably the worst in the country, statistically probably the worst in the country, but you can only play who you're put up against, and Evan Hull really did that. He had a 4-touchdown, 220-plus yard performance, and that really stood out in that effort. We talked about that lack of a will to win, the lack of motivation earlier, and Evan Hull really showed that, and that was very heartening for Pat Fitzgerald and the future of the team.
So that's all the quotes we have. I'm glad we had this bright note. If you want to read any more of Avery's work, head on over to InsideNU.com.
The men's basketball team was fresh off a win against Providence as they took on the Highlanders of Radford. Let's see how they did. Starting off the scoring early is the one and only Pat Spencer with a nice little fake spin and one with the bucket to tie it up early on. Next up, does Pete Nance hit threes? Well, let's find out. He's wide open here, gets nothing but net for 3. Next up, don't worry, we got some more shots. We got some more 3-pointers. Miller Kopp open near the corner. He drains it. Yes, sirree, he does. But then we jump over to the second half. Could this be a play of the week? Who knows? But Pete Nance with a nice dribble drive jumper for 2 more. Up next, we got Pete Nance to A.J. Turner for 2. Nice little paint scoring there. And then we got some more passing around. Miller Kopp with the drive and the bucket. Acrobatic move there, if I do say so myself. And then we continue on with this game. Cats down, but Anthony Gaines with the turnover. Pat Spencer brings it up, passes it over to Pete Nance here, but then Pete Nance with a nice beat to Robbie Barron, who slams it down, 2 hands for 2 points. And then we got a lead pass to Anthony Gaines with an acrobatic finish, a layup there. Cats down 10 with 2.5 minutes to go. Could they keep up with Radford? No, they couldn't. Nice little layup here, but the Cats end up falling in this game 67-56. Coming up next on Friday, the Wildcats take on Norfolk State, so tune in for that. And make sure to stay in your seats because up next we check in on the women's side of Northwestern basketball.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Northwestern break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, spread for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. At Northwestern University, the possibilities are endless.
Welcome back to Sports Night, ladies and gentlemen. Pat, I gotta ask, what's your favorite Thanksgiving food?
Hot take, I don't like turkey.
Okay.
Past couple years, my mom's cooked ham.
What?
I really like the ham.
What?
You don't like it? I like nice honeys.
I mean, I like the ham, but I just shocking that you don't cook, and no turkey. There's no turkey in your Thanksgiving meal.
Well, not that I know of. I don't eat it.
Wow. We're gonna come back to this, but I believe you have some field hockey to talk about?
You're right, I do. The field hockey team made it to the NCAA tournament, which only accepts 18 teams from across the country. In the first round, they took on the Boston College Eagles. It was a low-scoring affair, with the Eagles getting the only goal in the first 3 quarters of play. Bente Bockers continued her stellar redshirt freshman campaign by scoring her 28th goal of the season to tie the game at 1 apiece. It looked as though the game might go to overtime until Boston College was awarded a penalty cross and punched in a goal with just a minute left. With the Wildcats season over, I'd like to give out a couple of awards. MVP of the team goes to Bente Bockers, who concluded her first season with a number of awards and finishing second for most goals in a single season in Northwestern history. The Robin Award for Best Sidekick goes to Kirsten Mansfield, who led all Big Ten players in assists with 17. Before the season ended, our very own Dave Peck was able to catch up with Bente Bockers and Coach Tracy Fuchs in this week's Player Spotlight on the Big Ten Freshman of the Year.
Northwestern 4, Kent State 0.
When Bente Bockers boarded her flight from the Netherlands to Chicago last summer, she knew her first game with Northwestern field hockey was a ways away. After tearing her ACL, she sat out her entire freshman season. This year, she stormed back, and on Wednesday was named Big Ten Freshman of the Year. The Rijswijk, Netherlands native led the entire Big Ten with 24 goals and 50 points throughout the regular season. Considering all the time and effort that it took to get back after the ACL injury, those numbers meant even more.
Yes, it does mean something to me. I'm really proud of what I've done so far, but I hope that I can, reward my team with scoring more in the Big Ten tournament, because that's really what we've worked for so far. And I hope that I am able to show it there too.
But what is it about Bockers' playing style that makes her so dangerous on the field? We were able to catch up with head coach Tracy Fuchs, who provided an answer.
One, she's very competitive, and 2, she hits the ball as hard as anybody I've seen in Division I, and she can get a shot off in 3 inches of space because she puts the ball in the right place, and she's actually a lefty, so her reverse is as good, if not better, than her forehand shot, and it's very, very hard to defend. So, she wants the ball. She calls for it even when she's not open. So, you want players like that where no matter what the situation, they want the ball. And she's one of those players, and the team looks for her, if the game's on the line. And because of that, it opens them up for opportunities as well.
Over 1,000 miles away from her home in the Netherlands, Bockers found a new home here in Evanston among her coaches and her teammates, one that has helped her grow as both a player and a person.
I think it was really hard coming here, but I knew that I wasn't going to waste a year of my life, so I decided to do the rehab here. And I think in the beginning, especially right after surgery, it was really hard because I was so far away from my family and my friends and the people that I loved and supported me the most. But it sounds really cliche, but my teammates really helped me, and my athletic trainer here and my coaches. So I immediately felt more comfortable around them and was able to share my feelings with them.
From Lakeside Field, Dave Peck, NNN Sports.
There will be 7 seniors leaving this team, but the Cats return an exciting core of Bockers, Lakenberry, and goalkeeper Florian Markussen. Northwestern fans should keep next year's team on the radar and make their way to Lakeside Field next fall.
The undefeated women's basketball team had some tough matchups this past week, facing off against Marquette and Duke. Were they able to keep their undefeated record alive? Well, I am so glad you asked. Let's find out. Northwestern traveled to Marquette to face on Marquette last week. Who would have known? The scoring starts off here with an Abby Scheid three-pointer. It's natural. She does it quite often. It's not of a surprise. Cats up 7-2. Nice down low score here from Courtney Shaw. Good layup in the paint. Next up, we got the ball to Lauren Van Kleenen, who gets the hook to go for Marquette Golden Eagles. And then here, we got another bucket there. Throw her layup. Marquette ties it. But don't worry, the Cats would fight this way back. Lindsay Polium here with the bucket. There it is. Puts it back up. Northwestern goes up big in overtime, and foul trouble would lead the Golden Eagles down to lose the game at 64-56. Northwestern begins their 6-game homestand at Welsh Ryan Arena right now as they are currently playing Valparaiso Crusaders.
We'll head back to Welsh Ryan when we get back, as we've got volleyball and wrestling coming up next.
Last Sunday, the women's basketball team traveled to Durham, North Carolina to take on the Duke Blue Devils. The teams were tied 25-25 at halftime, but the Wildcats came out of the gate running in the second half. The Wildcats outscored the Blue Devils 29-4 in the third quarter alone, and the Blue Devils were never able to catch up. Northwestern beat the Blue Devils with a final score of 63-42. This win increased the Wildcats' record to 3-0 on the season, while the Blue Devils dropped to 2-2. Junior Lindsay Polium led the Wildcats with 26 points, including a career high of 4 threes. Senior Abby Wolf also contributed 12 points and 6 rebounds.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Cheer you all the go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. Western University, the possibilities are endless.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. While liking ham over turkey might be a big of a take, do you think that loving pumpkin pie is a big take? Because that's my favorite food by
Pumpkin
far.
pie is phenomenal.
It's amazing.
I don't know who would hate on it.
The only way to start an argument, guaranteed at Thanksgiving, is cut the pumpkin pie in the middle without a crust. Try it out. It's crazy, but it would start a fight if you're looking for something to do.
I don't know what your pumpkin pies look like, but I guess that's what you're thinking
pie,
of.
you cut in the middle.
As we move on to volleyball. Northwestern volleyball has struggled in Big Ten play all year long. The news didn't get better as freshman phenom Temi Thomas-Ilara has been sidelined for the past few weeks now. This past week, they look to get back on track with a 2-game set in Welsh Ryan. Let's see how they did. Now the Cats lost to Rutgers earlier in the year, and they're hoping for a different result as this one they played in Evanston. Picking it up midpoint, Cats are trying to push this one over and keep the play alive, but the duo out of Whitney Young High School, Danielle Williams and Alana Walker, combined for the monster block there, putting the Caps up early in the first set. Set point at the end, Peyton Chang sets it high for Ella Gerbeck, and Northwestern gets the point, giving them first back-to-back matches where they won the first set for the first time since late September. And we move on later in this. Rutgers decided they'd hit this one out of bounds, giving the Cats the point and the match. They win 3-0 at Evanston. On to Sunday, matinee action as they welcome top 10 Nittany Lions. I was on the call for this one for WNUR. Early first set, Cats pick this one up. Peyton Chang sets behind her head, and the first year Desiree Becker finds the floor. The Cats drop the first set 25-15. On to the second. Cats displaying a little bit of smarter play here with a phenomenal display of defense to keep the ball alive. It finally goes to the outside for Ella Gerbeck. She goes high off the hands, gets the kill. Cats drop another set though, down 2-0. To the third we go. Nice serve from the first-year Stravik Chronister. She then handles the hit from Penn State's best player, and Nia Robinson is able to push this one against the blockers and down. However, Northwestern lost the third set, ending this match 3-0, finishing the weekend 1-1. Shane Davis's team is looking to pick up a couple late season wins as they'll head on to their final weekend road trip of 2019, taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes tomorrow and then facing off the Maryland Terrapins in College Park on Sunday.
Ranked 14th in the country, Northern Iowa came into Welsh Ryan Arena to take on a Northwestern wrestling team looking to bounce back from a loss against Virginia Tech. To use the parlance of our time, Sebastian Rivera wants all the smoke. After going up a weight class last week, Sebastian Rivera defeated his Northern Iowa opponent again in a weight class above his own. Rivera is ranked 3rd in the country in 125 pounds and chose his class through a major decision. Not to be outdone, however, Ryan Deacon also won a major decision at 157 pounds and continues to stake his claim as the best wrestler in the weight class. Deacon is currently ranked 3rd in the nation at 157 pounds. Other standouts for the Cats include Shane Oyster and Lucas Davison, who won their respective contests. The number 14 ranked Cats ended the contest winning 24-20 against the Panthers.
This past Friday, the Cats took the stage in Stillwater, Oklahoma, in hopes to make their mark at the Midwest Regional Championships. The Cats scored 348 points and took a solid 13th out of 33 teams competing in the meet, but a regression from last year's 4th place finish. Rachel McCardle was the Cats' top finisher, coming in 36 overall with a time of 21 minutes, 39 and a half seconds. She was followed by senior Sarah Nicholson, who closed out her cross-country career with a time of 22 minutes and 1 second. Although the team averaged a 6K time of 22 minutes and 10 seconds, it was not enough for the Cats to earn a spot in the NCAA National Championship meet. This concluded Northwestern's cross-country season, and they're looking to begin competition again this January for indoor track.
This past weekend, the women's fencing team traveled to Philadelphia in order to take on Pennsylvania.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Northwestern break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, spread for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. At Northwestern University, the possibilities are endless.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As we round out this show, of course, we're going to talk about what we are thankful for, as we do not have a show next week and Thanksgiving is right around the corner. So, Pat, I'm going to throw this one over to you. What are you thankful for here at Northwestern?
So I'm an avid volleyball player. I participate in the men's club team, and it's nice to see a phenomenal player on the Cats women's team. Tammy Thomas-Ilara is something that every Northwestern volleyball fan should be thankful for. She's played phenomenal this entire year, winning multiple Big Ten Freshman of the Week awards. She has a killer topspin serve, and she slams it home whenever she's asked to. If there's one player that, you look around at Northwestern sports teams and you think, well, how could they perform without them? She's got to be the one. She's been a countless option for the team time and time again. And just watching her, something for me to be thankful for.
Wow.
How about you? What are you thankful for?
That was really nice.
I had a shout out.
Well, the thing I am thankful for is that Northwestern is in the Big Ten. I mean, sometimes we may not be the greatest team. That goes without saying, but it is very, very awesome to be able to watch teams like Ohio State in football who might win the college football playoff championship and just be able to compete against teams that are so elite and watch these players who are going to go on to do such successful things. It's very, very interesting, and I'm just thankful that I get to experience that here at Northwestern.
Shout out Justin Fields.
Shout out to Justin Fields.
But you know what's coming up next? Plays of the week.
Yes,
Roll 'em.
it is.
I'm thankful for those.
I'm so thankful.
I am thankful for those. I can tell you that much.
At number 3, ladies and gentlemen, you saw it once. Now you're going to see it again. Pat Spencer brings it up and then passes it to Pete Nance, who brings it down to Robbie Barron with the two-handed slam.
On to play number 2 we go. Some call her Kobe, I call her Lindsey Pulliam. With the dagger here in overtime. Cats win.
Number 1, you also saw this, a blocked kick by Joe Gaziano, and then we sped it up for you just to get through it because it was an 85-yard touchdown return run for Chris Bergen. Cats win this one big. Nice little replay. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on Sports Night. My name is Ryan Coleman. This is Pat Timlin. Please follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on whatever social media platform you have. Of course, we do not have a show next week, but enjoy your Thanksgiving however you may, and good night, and roll Cats.